Welcome everybody to this week's stream, the best museums in Paris, our favorite spots, what's worth your time and what isn't. I'm Stephen Heiner, my colleague, friend, business partner, Molly Sebrier. Hi, Molly.
Hello. You forgot YouTube co-host. You must
YouTube
have forgotten
co-host,
the list.
owner of the YouTube channel that I show up on occasionally. So today, something this was a task I had when I first moved to Paris. I thought I'm going to see all the museums, and I actually started a meetup group, which was a museum meetup group. That meetup group ended up being the generator for all of my significant French friendships. And it was just people who knew that they wanted to see museums and were very happy for someone else to take charge of all the planning. And they just got to show up. Eventually, Molly, would you believe we went to 42 museums together that group?
Gosh. And how much time?
I think over 3 years, 4 years, towards the end, and it started to peter out because we were going to minor museums, that people were not aware of, and you really had to be passionate. And the thing is, we were all seeing each other regularly. So part of the reason for that group, I think, was for people to make friendships.
Yeah.
And then that took off without needing the group to sustain it. So we didn't all need to stay in the group anymore. So I was very happy to shut it down. It was a very successful group. So what Molly and I are going to do today is we're going to go through the museums and make comments on them. We may, I'm finding something out about Molly. Molly's finding, we haven't never gone down and compared our list of museums with each other. But we'll just comment and tell you, do we think it's worth your time, and some hacks, some things that you might want to do it. And we'll talk about it both from the perspective of a resident and then as a visitor. So resident, I would say there's no excuse. If you're a resident, you've got time, and these museums are free occasionally.
Yeah.
But as a visitor, we would say first time, second time, third time. I think we can do that, Molly.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the Granddaddy, the largest museum in the world.
The most visited museum in the world?
Probably the most visited as well. Happy to be called out on our statistic there, but I feel pretty confident if it's not number one, it's number two.
And it made very recent news.
Yes, that's right. And I had a friend would prank call me, Molly, in the early days of Paris foot walks. They would call and leave. Goes, yeah, I'm wondering if you people do tours of the Louvre. And so, of course, we're talking about the Louvre, famously burgled recently. And I think part of the challenge of recommending this, Molly, is just the size of it.
Agreed.
It's so big.
It can feel very overwhelming. Even as people who lived in Paris for such a long time, there are definitely parts of that museum I know personally that I never got to. Again, it came down to my personal interests and where I wanted to spend my time. I've been to the Louvre dozens of times, if not like over 20 times, because it's someplace you always take visitors to. I like to go for my own interests a little bit in a couple of different sections, but I wouldn't, if you're a first-time visitor, I wouldn't block off, say, 3 or 4 hours for the Louvre. And to make a sort of note here, for me personally, my limit for museums was always 3 hours. Sometimes I would try to push it a little bit, but I found naturally around the 3-hour mark, it was like, I don't even feel like I'm absorbing anything anymore. Sure, maybe I could continue to look and walk around physically, but it was kind of pointless at that time.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said the exact same number I did, Molly. I'm also a 3-hour person, but I set that as an upward limit because, and also people don't sometimes realize how much going to a museum takes out of you.
Yes.
I think in our mind, we think, oh, okay, a hike, that takes something out of you. But engaging with art seriously and thinking about it, it is exhausting. Yeah. And I always tell the story that I had 2 tours back to back. I did a tour of the Louvre, and then I did a tour of the Orsay, and I showed up for apéro with a friend at 5 o'clock, and I just stared at her.
Yeah.
I had nothing left. I'd been talking about art all day, and that's when it really came home to me that, this is a tough gig. And again, I'm not trying to downplay other people's really hard jobs, but it is something that takes a lot out of you. So I'm with Molly on the 3 hours, and it's definitely a first visit, at the very most second visit to Paris for me. For the residents, it is, you have a pass, which we've talked about on the website. There's articles about it on tape about very reasonable annual pass, and it allows you to bring companions. I want to say on Fridays, you can bring one person for free with you
Mhm.
on Fridays. So it's well worth it. You get access to the temporary exhibitions as well with that membership. So you can go back. Now, what kind of people should get that pass? If you go at least 4 times a year.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not going at least 4 times a year, don't worry about it. And obviously, as always, with all museums in Paris, there are discounts for being a student. It's free if you're a member of the European Union, if you have citizenship in the European Union, and you're a student. If you're a member of the press, there are a number of ways that you can get discounted tickets. You can just check out ahead of time. But just speaking about the pass for residents, I had it for a full year, Molly. I went every other week for a year, and I would
Mhm.
say I burned myself out on the Louvre
Yeah.
insofar as I was also leading tours.
Right.
So when you've gone to the Louvre 30 times, and I know Molly and I are a small subset of people who can say that, you really you just need some time away, I
Yeah.
suppose. I'm
Yeah.
sure now it's been a while since I've been to Louvre. I would love it. One of my favorite places to take people was to engage them in conversation as we were walking towards Winged Victory. And they
Mm.
didn't know we were walking towards Winged Victory.
Mhm.
But I would distract them so they wouldn't look. And then I would stop and say, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reveal up the staircase
It's
of
beautiful.
Winged Victory
Mm.
is
Mhm.
exactly what the designers wanted. So the palace was already there, so it's not like they designed that staircase, but they designed that would go on that staircase. That was a wonderful design by the curators of the museum. So
Mhm.
lots of opportunities there. So don't want to spend the whole episode on the Louvre, but we had to start with the Louvre.
I
Uh,
almost think that statue is more impressive than the Mona Lisa. Like, we have to just mention, if you've never seen the Mona Lisa, how much of a letdown it can be. And it's one of those things where no matter what time of the day you go, it's always bombarded with people surrounding it. So you're really trying to like look over people's heads and around people's smartphones that are trying to like record the Mona Lisa. I guess the last thing I'll say about the Louvre, and this might be more appropriate for residents, is I think they still do this. I hope they still do this. Maybe once a month, or maybe not as often, they would do like a Thursday night museum opening,
well,
like after
it's
hours.
always open Friday night. I think that was
Yeah.
it was open till 9 p.m. And what's nice about that is, and you could take your companion there if you had a pass from 6 to 9, is that all the tourists have cleared out.
Yeah, that's a great time to go.
The only people who are there are the Paris people or the students who they know this is a less crowded time to go, and it's a really different feel. You want
Yeah,
to talk about night at the
and the
museum?
museum, so cool. Yeah.
It really has that different feeling to it,
Mhm.
as opposed to being in the Louvre during the daytime and you walk outside and you see things. So yeah, like I said, we can't spend the whole episode on the Louvre, but
Yeah.
as expected, we spent almost the first 5-6 minutes talking about it. Very next one, Molly, the one that comes right after for people, and whenever they don't do their homework ahead of time, this is where they go if they find the other one's closed.
Yes.
So, oh no, this one's closed. I guess we'll go here. Oh, this one's closed. But do your homework ahead of time, everybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
Louvre is closed on Tuesdays. Know where your museums are and do your homework ahead of time, and that'll be great. So the Orsay,
Mhm.
former train station, one of the most beautiful museums in the world, as far
Of
as I'm
the
concerned.
big ones, of, like, the big daddies, as we can call them, my favorite for sure, and it's a little bit I mean, I think it's m more well known now, but I remember when I first went to Paris, I'd never even heard of that museum before going,
Mm,
because it was just the Louvre, the Louvre, the Louvre, Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, but the Orsay, even now after having gone so many times and having it be more of this, like, very well-known spot, I really love it there. Really love
yep.
the museum.
And it goes back to that 3 hour thing, Molly. I tell people all the time, you can easily do the Orsay in 3 hours.
Yes, yeah, mhm,
And in a quick way, just to give people orientation, when you walk in, you'll see the famous Orsay clock behind you, and then you'll look out. You're inside a train station that
mhm.
has been adapted as a museum. So I would encourage people, take a don't rush through the bottom, but just take a leisurely walk through. You'll get to the back, and there is a glass overlay of streets of Paris, and then the Opera House. There's a cut so you can look at it. But go straight up the escalator up to the top to the Impressionists.
I agree, start there.
Go right away up to the top,
Mhm,
and then work your way down.
yeah,
But all of the most famous impressionist works are up there, and you also get a great view from
Mhm.
that vantage of the
Stunning
whole
view.
museum.
Mhm,
Do the impressionists, come down one level, and you've got the Art Nouveau
mhm.
and the Van Gogh. Now the problem is the Van Gogh is very crowded all
Yes.
the time. There's just
Mhm.
no way around it unless you go first thing in the morning or right before closing. You're going to be slammed. So if you want to spend more time with the Van Goghs, you need to plan for that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most crowded spots. And then you come down to the bottom, and these are, I would say, the lesser known to the casual art person, but well known. So someone like Basile,
Mhm,
someone who tragically killed in the Franco-Prussian War, but a great talent. You're going to see that kind of art down there.
mhm,
Work your way down, spend most time up there, and also you've got the Cafe Campana, the beautiful cafe with the
mhm.
Orsay clocks
Yeah.
there. That's Instagrammable, is sure, for
Great
sure,
place to stop for a coffee break,
for
for
sure.
sure.
I'm going to defer to this next one, Molly, because I have an unpopular opinion, at least among the Frenchies,
I know which
about
one you're gonna say.
the Pompidou,
I
which is
mean,
now closed for renovations for 5 years. So it's not like we can tell you to go. You can't
yeah,
go.
yeah. I used I guess is the right word for it, more so of a landmark for me. Like, I'll meet you by the Pompidou kind of deal. Not my favorite museum either, but again, this comes down to just my interests in the kind of art that they have in Pompidou. I don't really enjoy contemporary art. I have seen a couple photography exhibits there that I've liked. That's like kind of those were the only things that really, after I initially walked through and saw what they have, the only things that really got me back to that museum were specific photographers that were being exhibited there. Another good thing I can say about it is if you go all the way up to the top, it's a great view of Paris. um, I mean, if you've seen the Pompidou, you know it sticks out like a sore thumb in Paris. And I would call it a bit of an eyesore. I know that might be like a hot take for some people.
I love
Uh,
how Molly is just hedging, right? She's
I
like, it's a
know.
sore thumb. I know how it might be. So let's go from Molly's like supposed hot take to it's trash. Okay. That's my take on the Pompidou Center. It is trash. It's a disgrace to the city of Paris. It's an example of ugliness, right, in the city. We'll
Mm,
see the same thing with BNF, the
mhm,
Bibliothèque Nationale Française. That is trash, right?
mm, mhm.
I'm happy to say it. There is a madness that overtakes people sometimes, but nobody goes and says, well, that's not true. People do go to Paris for the Pompidou, but regular people, uh, whatever that means. Just kidding. All this is to say, I'm not kidding about the fact that I find it to be an ugly. Molly saying sore thumb, that's an insult to sore thumbs, right? This thing is ugly. And it's true. The reason the view is so good from up there is because it doesn't include the
'Cause you
Pompidou.
can't see
You
it.
can't see it.
Yeah.
It has an amazing view of a medieval neighborhood that got Haussmannized,
Mm,
and it's I worked down there. There was a co-working space. It was 10 minutes from my apartment. I loved that neighborhood. I don't
yeah.
love that building. And it's to Molly's point, you can still appreciate it. It's nice. On a sunny day, it's a great place to sit
Mhm,
with friends. As Molly said, it's easy to meet. Say,
mhm.
I'll meet you at the Pompidou, and
Yeah.
you can just sit there with people.
There's great cafes around there.
Yeah.
My husband worked in Le Marais for years, and we would meet up at his workplace and then walk over there to go to a cafe bar after work. Tons of that kind of stuff around there. We went to a really good Asian restaurant over there. I
Yeah,
can't
there's
remember what it was.
there's uh Ravioli du Nord, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
on Rue Saint Denis.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, there's all sorts of. The neighborhood's awesome. As for the museum, you decide for yourself. Molly and I are not the best representatives of contemporary art. That gets us to the Orangerie.
I love this one.
So, if you're not familiar with this, these are two outbuildings from the palace.
Mhm.
So, if you remember that the Louvre was a palace, you have the Orangerie is one of those outbuildings, and it is the main point of the Orangerie is to host these huge Monet water lily
Mm.
canvases,
And some
enormous.
of his most famous
Yeah,
paintings.
there are other pieces there
Mhm.
downstairs,
Mhm.
but nobody cares about them.
I know, but I do like that section. I mean, I've been to that museum again dozens of times. It's one of my favorites. So once you have seen the water lilies quite a few times, like
Yeah, go down there
definitely
and
go
check it out
downstairs. Yeah, a
for
lot of
sure.
more impressionist stuff down there. They've got like a temporary area where there's things kind of
Hmm.
circulating through.
But
Smaller, really good.
you can get in and out really quickly, and you can buy
Mhm.
a combo ticket with your say to get in there.
Mhm.
And I think your carte blanche, which is the pass, which is cheaper. The Orsay pass is cheaper than the Louvre pass.
Mhm.
Um, and that one, I think they might do Thursday nights is when you can bring a
Maybe
companion.
that's what I'm thinking of, the Thursday night. Yeah.
But in either case, you can buy a combo that includes the Orangerie with your carte blanche.
Mhm.
And the Jus de Pomme is on the other side, but I don't think it can outshine the Orangerie as far as a draw.
No,
And then
and
mostly used for temporary exhibitions, I think.
and just the l'orangerie, like the way that they have it, it's beautiful. It's like it doesn't look like it from the outside, but where all of the Monets are displayed, it's like these oval rooms where you really get this beautiful, beautiful view of the water lilies. It's stunning, and you should go there, and then you should go to Giverny to see where he actually painted the water lilies.
That's a great shout. That's a great
Yeah,
shout. That's
it's
about 30, 45 minutes outside.
really easy day trip. Really,
And
really.
once you get there, you can rent bikes or
Mhm,
you can take the bus. I recommend taking the bikes if the
mhm.
weather's good and ride your bike there to Giverny. Otherwise, you can get on the bus. The buses run pretty regularly and see the water lilies. I mean, Molly's exactly right. See the water lilies and then see the inspiration for the water
Mhm.
lilies. And
Yeah,
you'll say, looks exactly correct.
yeah. That's a good maybe like 3rd or 4th time to Paris sort of
Right.
deal. Yeah.
Right. Oh, we haven't been talking. Sorry, Molly. Great reminder. So, Orsay for me, it's a first or second time to Paris, and
Mhm,
if you're a resident, no excuse.
mhm.
For Pompidou,
Never.
you're gonna have to pass by it. There's no escaping it, but it's up to you. And then the Orangerie, I would say, is probably a third or a fourth visit if
Mhm.
you're really crunched for time on your first or second.
Yeah,
For me.
yeah, unless you're a huge Monet fan, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Giverny as well, maybe a
Mhm.
second or third visit unless you're a big fan. The Rodin Museum, a
Love
little connection to our Midnight in Paris
Mhm,
book discussion.
mhm,
There's a bit of scene here, and it's a really nice museum, very open,
mhm.
and exposes you to a lot more than just the one sculpture that everybody knows.
Right,
Right?
yeah.
Really nice on the left bank in this beautiful residence, and I went there on Free Museum Sunday,
Okay,
which we've
yeah.
written about on the blog. So
Mhm.
definitely go if you're a resident. If you're a visitor,
I feel
if
like
I
that's
was
another, like, 3rd or 4th
if
if
I
you're
was really into Rodin,
yeah.
otherwise, yeah, third or fourth visit, I'm with you on that.
And you can do it very quickly too.
Hmm.
It's really, I mean, you can obviously meander through and take your time, but it's pretty small. The building itself is beautiful as well. And the garden, they have, of course, many of his sculptures inside, but then the garden has many of his sculptures outside, including the famous The Thinker.
Yes.
And they also have a great collection from his protege, who is actually a female sculptor. I'm blanking on her last name, but I believe her first name is Camille.
Hmm.
And her work is beautiful as well. So yeah, really like that one.
So the next one, a lot of my friends have been to, Molly, and I suspect you have as well, but I never made it out there, which is Fondation Louis Vuitton.
Oh, I love that one too.
And it's strange because I actually an admirer of some of Frank Gehry's work. He's the one who
Hmm.
designed the building, but potentially because I'm not that interested in contemporary art, that's why I never made it out there. And
Mm-hmm.
would you believe, Molly, I don't think I've ever been deeply inside Bois de Boulogne, other
Oh,
than on the edges,
okay.
because I've gone to. It's right by Parc des Ponts where
Hmm.
the PSG plays, and I've been down there numerous times. But just like on the edges of the park, I wouldn't say I've really gotten to appreciate that park. So that's still on my list. So for myself, the next time I'm in Paris, will I go? Probably not. But if I have more leisure in Paris, I should probably get out to the Fondation sometime.
I love that museum. I remember going right when it opened, actually, because unlike you, so that was right in my neck of the woods when I was living in the
Mm,
16th.
mm,
And yeah, I mean, I went. I remember it was under construction when I was doing my semester abroad in 2012, and then once I came back in 2014, it had been, or maybe it wasn't in 2014, but this my second time around in Paris, it had opened, and I went because I was just so curious to see what it would look like because I remember it was they were already starting to hype it up a lot when I was there during my semester abroad. That's another one. They've got a great little rooftop moment where you can see all of the bois, all of the forest, and like parts of Paris from the top. And then that museum, they of course have a permanent collection, but the reason why I went, honestly, maybe like 6 or 7 times, was because they always had a really cool exhibit going on. I remember they had an amazing one, like the MoMA had lent a bunch of art to um, the museum, and I had been to the MoMA in New York already, but it was really interesting to see it in a different setting in
mm.
Paris. And there's been a couple other, I mean, a couple, definitely at least 6 other exhibits that I really loved that I saw there. That's another really big one, but the way that they set up the exhibits is really well thought out, and so you can definitely do the whole thing in that within that 3-hour time frame.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, Molly's maybe hyping it up a little bit for me. I mean, maybe might actually go
If
the next
there's a
time I'm
good
in Paris.
exhibit if there's a good exhibit, I definitely recommend it.
I think the thing is when you're visiting Paris, when you're not a resident, you have your rhythms.
Mhm.
Same thing when I visit London. I have like my checkbox of things. I'm going to go here for food. I'm going to go here for coffee. I'm going to go here to meet my friends. I'm going to go here to this museum. And you can get into a rut. And so
Yeah.
what's nice is Molly is challenging me to get out of my rut and go do some other things. So the next one, we're going back to a traditional museum, the Picasso Museum.
Mhm,
Beautiful location in the heart of the Marais.
mhm.
And um, I always, Molly, I've said this to people: when you're at the Picasso Museum as a man, you're totally outnumbered. There
Yeah.
are so many more women. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But there are so many more women, and I'm thinking to myself, do people know how Picasso treated the women in his life? I mean, well,
Yikes.
was not a nice guy,
No.
but they're still here. They're
Mhm,
after his death, they're still here. So if you're interested in Picasso, if it, I actually there is a Picasso museum in Barcelona,
mhm.
just smaller, and you could easily get through in a couple hours. I really like that museum, but since we're not talking about Barcelona museums, this one is also, I think, a good one to get an introduction to his work. It
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of the younger childhood works, not childhood, but let's say early apprenticeship works
Mhm.
that the Barcelona one does, which I really appreciate. You wouldn't believe what a he was a traditionally trained painter, and so you
The
see a lot
change.
of
I've
this
done
this
that museum. Yeah.
yeah, you
The
see that
change is
change, and you
great.
see more of that in the Barcelona museum. But here at this museum, I still think you get a good introduction to his work, and it's definitely worth going. I think again, I went on a free museum Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm now going back to that group, and that group knocked out so many museums for me. And so
Yeah.
Picasso Museum was a very well attended event. For me, it would be my third or my fourth visit. Probably not my first or second visit, just in terms of thinking how many museums can I spend on my first or second visit. If we tell you like 6 museums, then we're not being realistic. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm pushing it out to a third or fourth visit for me.
Yeah, I think I actually only went to the Picasso Museum once because it was under construction for a very,
It
very
was,
long
it was,
time.
it only reopened a few years ago.
Yeah, so I think I only made it once. Again, if it's something you're very much into his art and you kind of want to check it off your bucket list, it's a beautiful museum in and of itself. Like the building that it's housed in is great. So just because Picasso is kind of for me on the same level of like fame, I guess, as the Louvre, I would actually put that as a second visit to Paris,
Hmm.
depending on your interest.
Very interesting. I would also argue here, if you're going to make it a museum visit, like I'm
Mm,
going to go for 7 days, get the museum pass.
for sure.
You're going to save money. I know people are thinking, what, these museums aren't free? No, almost all of them cost,
Yeah.
and varying costs. So take advantage of a museum pass and see more of them. And not every museum is covered in museum passes. There are actually different museum passes in Paris. So do your research and use that to your advantage. If you're going to make it an art trip, then lean into that.
Hmm.
The next one, Molly, again, this is something that I think people who are into this particular art, it'll be at the top of their list. And for residents, it doesn't even hit their radar, which is Quai Branly.
Yeah.
Jacques Chirac was the champion for this museum, and this is an ethnographic museum. So you see
Mhm.
indigenous art from Africa, Asia, basically the French Empire, what it was able to bring back and have people look at. I was fascinated by it. I went again on a free museum Sunday
Mhm.
and really enjoyed it with a couple of friends. And the way that the museum is laid out, it also allows for it's a really easy layout. Let me
Yeah.
say that it's long, elongated, and the way that you pass through exhibits, it's really I think it's well designed.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gone once. I'm trying to remember if I went as a school trip when I was doing my, like, French certificate, because I had, like, French classes on French culture and stuff when we would do museum field trips. I either did it for that or I did it with, like, a babysitting thing. Like, I took a child that I was babysitting there. That's not my favorite kind of art, so it was kind of a one and done for me. So again, it definitely depends on your interests there. It's not my favorite, but it is, even from the outside, it's very interesting. It's got that entire wall where it's like just like the vegetation
Mhm.
um, growing on the
Yeah,
wall.
well, that's probably its strongest feature, and it's not it's a few steps from the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
It's it's an easy museum to get to, but I don't know if it would even make someone's third or fourth visit if they were not into this particular type of art.
I
But I
agree.
really encourage people give it a chance. I think it's very rare that you're going to find an ethnographic museum in which you're going to have a chance to see specifically indigenous art, specifically
Mhm,
from the empire. So it's a unique proposition. So
mhm.
from someone who really takes a lot of joy out of learning about different cultures, I would push it on you as a way for you to step out of your comfort zone. But as Molly said, it may not even be on your radar. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Moving on to Petit Palais.
Mhm.
So, Molly, this is free. The permanent
Yeah,
collection is free at Petit Palais,
there's a
but
few in Paris that have the free
the
permanent.
permanent collection is what you're gonna have to pay for. But I actually my secret here is this is probably my favorite place to drink tea
Yeah, the
in
ketchup.
all of
Mm,
all of Paris. It has this beautiful garden,
mhm.
and it's not a hotel or anything, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
That you have this beautiful garden. Now, obviously, this is time specific. Right now, maybe isn't the best time to sit out in the garden. But, during certain times of year, it's a really wonderful place to sit.
Mhm.
And it has the largest collection of icons outside of Russia, I think.
Okay.
That's all downstairs. You're also going to see a carriage in there,
Mhm,
as well as some like a porter, like the way that, nobles or royalty would be carried around. You'll see some of that. So it's
mhm.
just a great permanent collection. Easy. You don't even need 3 hours.
No.
Go there. Don't go on free museum Sunday because it's free already,
Right.
but just go and you can spend an hour and then you can also grab a tea and
Yeah.
just relax.
I used to like going there because when I was a student during my semester abroad, I lived in the little neighborhoods like behind the Orsay, which is not very far from the Petit Palais. And I used to go there like with a good book to read in the garden. So I definitely recommend that to a resident, if you're looking for a kind of lesser known park situation to go and hang out for the afternoon. I used to love doing that. And then, yeah, like you say, to get through the actual museum, an hour tops, honestly. It's pretty quick.
So I'm going to sneak this into a first or second visit to Paris, Molly, but not for the art, but for the tea.
Yes,
So
I
for
agree.
the vibes, if you want
Yes.
to tell people, hey, I've got a secret to show you,
Yeah.
be there. I'm also going to cheat here by referring to Hotel Bristol
Mhm,
because I'm talking about great tea spots. That's another great tea spot, but that's a
mhm.
hotel, and maybe Molly, that's a future episode to talk about
Yeah,
favorite hotels in Paris.
yeah.
Uh, Across the street from Petit Palais, you
Mhm,
have Grand Palais,
mhm.
which is obviously famously there for the ice skating rink.
Yes.
But usually concerts will be there. I've been there for a couple exhibits. And the funny thing is, the most significant exhibits in your life you always remember. So, Molly, you
Mhm,
may not know this, but the 1998 John Singer Sargent exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston was
mhm.
pretty seminal in my art journey,
Okay.
and followed up by the 1999 Mary Cassatt exhibit. So I can remember the year and the venue. The 2015 Velasquez
I
exhibit
remember that one, yes.
in Grand Palais was
Mhm,
significant to me got some really great art from that. Some really great art, some prints. Okay, I didn't bring back any art. I got some great prints from that
Yeah.
exhibit. And that was another one where our group had matured. So that group had been around for at least a year. And then I said, oh, we're going to the Velasquez exhibit, and 10 people signed up.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
imagine going to an exhibition with, 10 friends, and then we
Yeah.
went out to talk about it afterwards. So that was a lot of fun. So Grand Palais, more of a venue for temporary exhibitions than
Yes.
something you're going to get to visit on your own.
I believe they always do Paris Photo there as
Yes.
well. And then yeah, I've got good memories of the Grand Palais because that's where Pierre and I went, my husband, on like our third date or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
cute.
yeah, yeah.
So then we're staying in the Marais to go to the Carnavalet, which
Mhm.
was closed for a number of years
Oh wow.
recently.
I actually haven't gone to it since it's reopened. If you,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
yeah.
Again, another 3-hour easy
Mhm.
museum, and you can go as deep into Paris as you want. Really fun gift shop.
Mhm.
You go in, it's got this sort of Eiffel Tower on the ceiling with different parts of the city. But just understanding, realizing, oh, there is a museum of the history of Paris,
Mhm.
that's its own thing.
Yeah.
And that's really, really fun. So I can't recommend that enough. Uh, but still, probably a third or a fourth visit. I don't think it can
Yeah.
fit into your first or second visit.
I believe I went to it when I was doing my semester abroad, and so that was in 2012. Before it was right before it closed, actually. And then yeah, I didn't go back when it
Ah,
reopened, even though a lot of
right.
people said it was wonderful and like that I should. But maybe next time I'm in
I'll
Paris.
put that on the list. So Molly put Fondation Louis Vuitton on my list. So I'm putting Carnavalet for
Yes,
her.
yes,
Uh, the Cluny Museum, the
yeah.
Museum of the Middle Ages. So we talk about
Mhm.
contemporary art. This is actually built near historic ruins.
Yeah.
So there are ruins there, and then they brought in medievally themed art and wonderful museum. There's also Lady and the Unicorn. That tapestry is
Mhm.
there. So if
Mhm.
you're into medieval art, or you don't know if you're into medieval art and you'd like to check it out,
Mhm.
it's also around the corner from the Finnish Institute, where Molly and I
Mhm.
have met many times for coffee. And they they make great coffee. They're not generally friendly to groups, but that doesn't matter. You can just go with your friends.
Yeah.
And uh, that's medieval art. Again, I'm into medieval art, so it'd be a first or second visit for me, but I think for most people, it's gonna be a third or a fourth.
Yeah, it honestly it depends. Like if you're over there looking at the ruins, like the ruins are really really cool. And if that kind of piques your interest, I would say stop in. But yeah, I would agree, probably a third or a fourth.
So that gets us to the Mamoton
I
Monet.
love this one. This might be in my like top five, honestly.
And that's what's interesting, Molly, is a lot of it's not on a lot of people's
Mhm.
radar. It's also not convenient. I think that's the
No,
challenge is if you're a local, it's still not convenient, but you figure it out. I
it
would
was
say from the
only
center of Paris.
convenient to me because I lived on Rue de Passy, which is the street you take all the way down to get to it.
So I would say from the second, which is where I would have been traveling, or from Gare du Nord when I was a tourist. And I think when I went for the first time and I stayed at a hostel in Montmartre, it's probably 20 to 25 minutes to get there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's if you're willing to walk, if it's like a nice day and you're willing to take a nice walk, it might be like 30 plus minute walk, but you can walk there from the Eiffel Tower.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overcoming it either as a resident or a tourist, the number one reason I would say for the Montmouton is Berthe Morisot. So
Yes.
I'm a big Berthe Morisot fan,
Me
but
too.
I became a Berthe Morisot fan by going to that museum.
Yeah.
So I have to say, embarrassedly, I didn't know who Berthe Morisot was until I went to the Montmouton.
Mhm.
And I think they must have the largest collection of her work. I think
I
maybe the
think they
largest
do.
public collection of her
I
work.
think they do.
But
Yeah.
she was Edward Manet's wife.
Mhm.
But a lot of people are just great painter in her own right.
I love her work. You'll
And
see some of her work at the Orsay. I
at the
think
Orsay,
that's
you'll
where I
see a
discovered her.
portrait, Manet's portrait of Berthe
Mhm.
Morisot
Mhm.
is in the fourth room or so upstairs. So Berthe Morisot, that's all I got to say. Go to the Montmouton, and it's not crowded. I think that's the thing is it's
No.
not well known as a museum, and so you can go and have it to yourself. You could say.
Yeah, it's another one where as well the building that it's in is beautiful, and I don't know if you went to this part of it, Stephen, but the entire basement is all Monet.
Yes, I vaguely remember it,
It's
but as I
beautiful.
said, my big takeaway was Bert Moiseau.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you're like very big fan of Monet, you should definitely do L'Orangerie, Giverny, Marmonton. Um, like I said, the entire lower level of that museum is all Monet.
Okay. So now we're going to start getting into, did Molly go? Did Stephen go? Question mark,
Okay.
question mark.
Okay.
So we'll start with the Victor Hugo house in Place de Vosges.
Yes,
So I have been there. Unbelievable house, ridiculous
Mhm,
house, crazy
mhm.
house.
Yeah.
And whether you're a fan of Hugo's work, whether you read Hugo's work or not, it's worth going just if for no other reason you want to see a famous person's house,
Yeah, yeah.
go check it out. And then obviously it will lead to more interest. I would say the same thing about Jules Verne's house in Amiens, but
Yeah.
that one's whimsical. So
Okay.
it looks like
I
Jules Verne's
imagine that
house.
it would be whimsical, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of that. So this one I think Molly has been to probably, and
Okay.
I have been to, which is Palais de Tokyo.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
So another one where it's going to be contemporary experimental. I went on a free museum Sunday or some other time rather late in the journey. Didn't make a particularly strong impression with me, but I think if there's a temporary exhibition that you want to see, you probably are going to have to go to Palais de Tokyo to see it. So
Yeah, I went to a really interesting temporary exhibition there once, and I can't remember who it was for, but it was one of these like interactive exhibits. And I remember one of a part of it was you got into a rowboat within the museum, and like they had like a body of water like installed in there, and you took the rowboat and you rowed through, and that was
oh
like part of
neat.
experiencing the piece of art. So that's what I think of when I think of Palais de Tokyo. There's also a really cool venue at Palais de Tokyo. I've gone to see concerts there. They've got like a nightclub there that I've gone to as well.
Neat.
Yeah, and it's right on the Seine, really pretty area. Yeah, so again, it's kind of like a very specific thing. Like I would do that third, fourth, maybe even fifth, sixth. Maybe like if you're a resident, you should go there.
I was like
Like,
seventh, eighth,
I
ninth.
know. I just if unless there's a temporary exhibit of an artist that you really love and admire, I think it
Sure,
kind of falls down on the list of
sure,
at least for tourists.
sure. Um, Another one which I'm pretty certain Molly and I have both been to, but we don't talk about that much, which is the Musée de l'Armée, which might be
Oh
known
yeah,
by the more familiar name Les Invalides.
yeah. Hmm.
But that is actually a military museum. A lot of people don't realize you can pass through Les Invalides for free.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything to pass through from one side of Les Invalides to another, even to go inside the church that's there. But if you want to go up into the museum,
Hmm.
that's what costs money.
Hmm.
If you're interested in military history, of which France
Yeah.
has a lot, it
If
is
you want
worth
to look at
seeing.
weapons, you should go.
But even then, I would say it's probably a third or fourth visit for the museum.
Yeah.
Les Invalides, I would argue, is a first or second visit for the
Hmm.
building. And you can
Hmm.
walk through it in about 15 or 20 minutes. And it's
Hmm.
well worth seeing. Along the same lines, not so very far away from there, is the Museum of the Liberation of Paris,
Hmm.
which is in an underground resistance bunker.
Yeah, really cool place.
And I had a chance to see that early on when it opened. That one, again, even though it's really interesting, I don't think I can justify a first or a second visit for it.
Unless it really means something to
Something to
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. If maybe your grandfather fought in the war,
Yeah.
or was part of the liberation of Paris. I mean, that
Yeah.
would definitely be a checkbox that you want to check.
Hmm.
But one of the funniest things about that museum is seeing how they incorporated gas masks into Paris Fashion Week,
I know. I
right?
know.
That you just think, of course, the French,
Of
they can't
course,
help
the French
themselves,
do it.
can they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So as a métier, also not far
Mhm.
from my old apartment in the second, when I say my old apartment, I mean the best apartment I ever had.
Yeah.
It isn't to say I didn't have a great time living in the other parts of Paris, but you can't beat an apartment on Rue Saint Denis in the
Yeah.
second.
Great door. I'll always
Great,
remember the door.
amazing door. So as a métier, free to everybody Fridays between 6 and 9.
Mhm.
So you don't have to free Museum Sunday. You don't have to be a resident of the city of Paris. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. Arts as a métier, art and science. And seeing different inventions,
Yeah.
seeing different. There's a very famous. I'm forgetting the device, Molly, but it's a way to measure distances or
Yeah, I
movement.
can picture it, but I
It's
can't
right there
remember
because it's
what it
adjacent. There's a church that's part of the museum itself,
is. Mhm.
and it's in there. But Azimetier, go for free on Friday if you're there. Otherwise, I'd say third or fourth. If you're a nerd, if you're an
Yeah,
engineering person or a science person, first or second visit.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and if we've already crowded your first or second visit, definitely third or fourth. I don't think this is a seventh, eighth, ninth visit for me.
Is that where is one of the mini, Statue of Liberties there?
Yes,
Yeah,
nice call out.
that's what I think of when I think of that museum.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
inside.
Mhm.
Correct. Another one, not sure that Molly's been to, Gustave Moreau. His house and studio are preserved.
I think
Just
it was
really
on my
nice.
list for the longest time, and I never made it there. Maybe
Yeah,
I did though. I don't know.
put
I don't know.
put that on your list. It's
Yeah.
a, it's a nice one. Once again, a third, fourth, fifth, sixth visit. Can't
Mhm.
justify first or second, but maybe one that I've been to that I'm almost certain Molly's been to, Musée des Arts Décoratifs.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, Molly's in design. Of course, she's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Um, where would you rank that for if I'm not a design person? If I was a design person, maybe first or second, but
Mm. Yeah, I would probably bring that down to, like, a 3rd or 4th or 5th.
okay.
Unless you're
Same,
very, very much interested into it in it, you know what I mean? It's yeah.
yeah. This goes along the lines with Musée de la Vie Romantique,
I
which
love
is
that
in this
one.
wonderful little neighborhood.
Mhm.
And not, I mean, maybe an hour. I think if you were to read
Oh, yeah, it's
everything in that
very small.
museum, see if
That's
you just
a
want to knock out a museum, I think that's a nice one.
And it's another one that, like, you go on a really beautiful day because they've got a really nice little outdoor area where you can
Oh,
sit and read and drink
really nice
coffee.
garden. Really
Yeah.
nice garden. That's a classic thing. The French will go to a museum and just go read somewhere.
Mhm, mhm.
People may not realize, Molly, but there are a couple museums because everyone's always looking at the Eiffel Tower, but the hill that looks at the Eiffel Tower
Just
has
a little
museums in it as
Mhm,
well.
mhm,
So the Cité de l'Architecture et du Patrimoine
mhm.
is in there. Beautiful views, but
Yeah,
also really interesting.
yeah,
If you're into architecture. And then
yes.
there's a naval museum up there too. So I haven't had a chance to go to the naval museum, even though I'm into boats.
I haven't
But
been
I
either.
have been to the architecture museum,
Yes, me
and
too, and then there's the Musée de l'Homme right next
yes,
door.
right,
Yes, I've
all
been
all of them are right there. So people don't realize there's a bunch of museums that are right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, one that is called a museum, and I passed it many times. I never went in the Musée Grévin.
Oh,
The wax figures inside the passageway.
the French version of Madame Tussauds, is that what it
Yeah,
is? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But a lot of kids go. I always see groups of
Yes.
kids going in there.
All of my French friends went for on a field trip or with their family.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's that one that I always wanted to go to, Molly. I never made it, but that never say never. I can go. The Musée des Égouts de Paris, the sewer museum.
I've never been to that one either. I can't
Everybody
say
who's
that
ever
I
gone
have.
has told me it was just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I've heard that it is fascinating.
So that's a for me, and I guess Molly and I are talking about to dos in the
Yeah,
future. It is
yeah.
one of those things. Another one where you're going to see stuffed animals preserved. Musée de la Chasse et de la Nature.
I've been to that one. They've got a beautiful collection of butterflies. That's why I went.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
really fun. And now we're getting into 10th, 11th
Niche.
visit.
Yeah, this is pretty niche.
But that's what I mean is the museum group allowed us to, because we had knocked out all these other museums, then
Yeah.
it said, okay, well, we're going to go to this one, we're going to go to this one, we're going to go to this one. Also, another temporary exhibition place, the Musée de Luxembourg,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is
I like that one too.
it's really just there for temporary exhibitions, but mostly people are going there for the gardens normally, and
Yes.
they don't normally consider that. Um, we could go on and on, but
Yeah.
as usual, we're gonna try to wrap up. But Molly, what would you say is something for people to keep in mind if they are not planning an art visit? So they're there and they want to incorporate a few museums into their trip in Paris. How many would they pick and how would they think about it? and how would you encourage them to shape their day?
I'm going to answer that question, but there is one museum that was not mentioned that is one of my favorites, and it's also
Really?
free. The permanent collection is free. Is the Museum of Modern Art right next door to the Palais de Tokyo.
Okay.
And so and this was like a difference that I didn't realize, and anyone who's an art history major watching this is like, she's an idiot. But I didn't realize the difference between contemporary art and modern art.
Right. So Matisse, for example, would
Right.
be in that museum.
Yes. Modigliani is in that
Yeah.
museum. So contemporary art is like art that has been made in our days, like within the past 10 or 15 years. Modern art was a period of time, which I don't quote me on the years that it was made, but there is the Museum of Modern Art. It's like very similar vibes to MoMA in New York, and the permanent collection is free, and you can walk through an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And because it was free, I went dozens of times to that museum. And that's another one. They've got a great little cafe area attached to it, and you can sit outside. You can see the sun. You can see the Eiffel Tower. And it's never super, super crowded. I feel like that's another one of those museums that's a little bit out of the way. There's also a museum of fashion right over there as well. That is like, unless you seek it out, it's not really near any monuments, except it is near the memorial for Princess Diana. It's like right in that
Mm,
area.
unofficial.
Yes. um, so that's one I was waiting for it to come up on the list, and it never came up on the list. So I did want to mention it.
Nice call out.
In terms of people visiting, the first thing I want to say, and I say this because in addition to working with you, Stephen, with tourists, like on walking tours and things like that, I also worked as an assistant and social media manager for a walking tour company for years. And the thing that we used to see all the time is people would want to come and they'd want to see 5 museums in a day, or they'd want to go to, the Louvre and then Versailles or something insane like that. And I can understand that, because for a lot of people, they might only go to Paris once. And so they
Mm,
want to squeeze in everything that they can. I would just encourage you to be very selective in what you're doing and to not try to cram everything in on the same day, because ultimately you'll get to stop 3 or 4, museum 3 or 4, and you'll be so burnt out from what you've been doing that you're just going to be kind of walking through the place like a zombie, like not really enjoying it. And I know it's hard to choose. It's very, very difficult to choose. I would say if you're planning a trip, like 2 museums a day tops. And that's maybe a bold statement, but
I don't even know if I could, Molly, if I could support the two.
yeah.
I'm smiling because there's a very famous story in our family about the multiple museums in a day, and my sister and I set aside one day in Madrid to hit the museums, and we did 3,
Okay.
but we were targeted, so we went to one that had Guernica, and we
Mhm.
went to see Guernica specifically,
Okay.
and then we went to these other 2 museums. Obviously the Prado was the most important one for us to see,
Mhm.
but by the time we got to the Prado, and each time we're asking for the audio guide, and I asked my sister, I'm like, do you want an audio guia? And she says, I'm all audio guia'd out, man. And that's a very famous line that we just shared. It's like, I'm audio guia'd out is a way to communicate that you can't even.
Yeah.
So I think that if I'm not an art person, or this isn't an art oriented trip, I would take a sort of tapas rule. So, if you're ordering tapas, it's 2 tapas plates per person.
Mhm.
So if I'm visiting Paris for 3 days, I would say 1 museum for every 3 days. So if I'm
Mhm.
visiting Paris for 6 days, that's 2 museums, and that gives you
Yeah.
time to digest it. And keep in mind, there are things that are museum adjacent. So if you go to a wonderful park,
Mhm.
or if you go to a beautiful hotel,
Yeah.
if you go to a monument, these
Right.
are still things that are going to fill your cup. Don't rely on museums. Don't make museums work any harder than they need to. So that's my ratio, is if you're
Yeah.
not an art person, you just feel the need, you feel conscious of the fact, like, can I go to Paris and not go to the Louvre? I appreciate that about your
Mhm.
thinking. I'd say 1 museum every 3 days. Pick your
That's a good
poison.
point. I guess I'm coming at it from someone who is an art person. Um, so I agree with that. that statement. And I think if you are an art person, I think even if you are an art person, I think 2 museums a day.
That's where I would back you on that 2 number.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
if I'm an art person, do 2 a day just so you can do other things. Like, you
Yeah.
still wanna have a nice lunch,
Yeah.
you still wanna go walk somewhere, you still might need to do some shopping, etcetera.
And definitely like break it up with an activity like that. Do one thing in the morning, go for a nice long lunch, to kind of cleanse the palate, talk about what you saw in the morning and digest it. So I think it's going from places back to back to back and just kind of squeezing it in everything. You're not going to absorb anything at the end of the day.
And that's something I don't know if we've talked about this before on this channel, Molly, but that's just sort of a mistake that I have spent years trying to caution Americans from
Yeah.
is you may only ever come to Paris once, but you cannot act as if.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you won't take any memories except a blurred haze
Yeah.
of impressions of running from one place to another. And I'm glad that with Paris Foot Walks, which we've had a chance to work together on, we were intentional in not letting people do that.
Yeah.
That we said, hey, if you hire us, here's how the day is going to go.
Yeah.
And I I I know that not everyone's can have the means. I know that I'm speaking from a very privileged position of having been a resident in Paris for many years. But just realize in life you're not going to get to see all the things.
I
So
mean,
make spend time with the things that you do choose,
yeah.
and maybe you will get to come back some other time. But if not, you'll have real solid memories of what you chose to do as opposed to a frantic haze of stuff you don't really remember.
There's always going to be more to see, especially in a place like Paris. I mean, we lived there collectively for 20 years, and there's still, even over the course of this conversation, we're like, oh, we've never been to that one. We need to go to that one. So Paris is kind of never ending. There's Parisians who live there their entire lives, and there's certain things that they don't get a chance to see. So I think realizing that can hopefully take the pressure off a little bit. And to just take the time to really plan out your trip and be selective about what you're going to do and where you're gonna spend your time so that you can actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And remember, those of you who couldn't make it to the live, we didn't see any questions in the live chat today. So if you have questions after, as always, keep the conversation going in the comments. We'll do our best to answer. I'm sure you have museums that Molly and I missed. I'm
Mhm.
sure you have disagreements. I,
I was
I
just
know that
gonna say.
the Pompidou people are going to be in the comments section. I'm ready for you. I have my opinions. And in fact, Molly, side story on that, I think a friend at the time stopped talking to me
I
over this
remember you
issue.
saying that.
She
Oh,
was
man.
so upset. She's a Breton,
Mhm.
wonderful. She had great baking skills, as I think is required by law in Brittany. You must be able to bake. She was so upset at my unapologetic hatred of the
Mm.
Pompidou that I think she felt personally attacked.
That's so
And
funny.
I wish I could have told her it wasn't a personal attack. It's just a building,
Oh,
man. Don't worry about it.
mm.
But there it is. So keep the conversation going in the comments. Would love to hear from you. And suggestions too. If Molly and I didn't mention, hey, you and Molly didn't mention X museum,
Mhm,
you should check it out. We tried to limit it to Paris, so we didn't talk about Versailles, although Molly
mhm.
did mention Giverny, and we didn't talk about Saint-Germain-en-Laye, which has some wonderful museums as well. Maybe we'll do that in a future episode if there's a call for it.
Yeah.
Again, if you think so, leave it in the comments. But Molly, always happy to talk about this stuff. And what's funny is Molly and I have known each other for many years, have spent many hours working with each other. But in these streams, we always learn something about each other that we didn't know before
I
because
know.
because we haven't had to talk about it. So here we are
Yes.
for the first time, talk about all the museums we've gone to. And Molly's, I've been here, I haven't been here, and vice versa. So that's been fun.
Yeah, save this video for an upcoming Paris trip. If you know anyone who's going to Paris, feel free to share it with them.
Great shout.
And yeah, I mean, I could talk about this kind of stuff forever. So if there's another sort of, maybe we could do Paris monuments, maybe we could do Paris neighborhoods. But between the two of us, I think we have plenty of opinions to share on all that
For sure, for sure.
stuff.
And as always, hit the like button, share, subscribe, use that hype feature. Still figuring out what that does. Get that out to people. We'll appreciate you doing that on our behalf. A
Okay, thank you
bientôt.
so much. A bientôt.